All right, it is time to do some what I've been watching on TV check-in video stuff. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here and to share with you this video. I'm going to be doing two TV videos about what I've been watching recently. This is going to be about the stuff that I watched in year on regular TV broadcast, actually mostly through antenna, but like the live in-year weekly show type stuff. And then I'm also going to do a separate video about the stuff that I have been watched streaming, some of which was new, some of which is nowhere near new. But yeah, so that'll be a grab bag. And of course, this is going to be a grab bag of different genres because that's sort of just how I do things. So that's just sort of like what I watch. Anyway, so I have like 5 or 6 shows to get to. I can't remember. Yeah, let's just get this started. So first up, I finished off the entire series. So the last and final, that's redundant, the 5th and final season, there we go, of Kim's Convenience. This is one of those shows that actually, like, I am actually thrilled that so many people actually have heard of this and are watching this or have watched this. It's really wonderful to hear that about a Canadian TV show, and it's quite rare, so I just really, really appreciate that people are enjoying it, and I really, really loved it. I watched season 1 through 4 last year during the early days of COVID, and it was really wonderful to have something that felt familiar and normal and like sort of like everyday kind of stuff during that time. And so it was nice to finish off this season, or the series, with this 5th season. I would say there were a couple of, there was one thing that was a bit bumpy, but generally speaking, it was just sort of like a little like thrown in there. I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, and then like just on to the next thing. I was like, and it's the only time in the entire series something like that happened. But generally speaking, I absolutely loved this show. I really, really just, it just warms my heart and felt so Canadian, and I absolutely loved it. So, and Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, who plays Appa, he has his own YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it yet, I will leave it up in the cards, and he does like geeky unboxings and stuff like that, and it is just really cool. So definitely check that out if you haven't so far. And yeah, so this is one that is done. I'm sad about that, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the actors get up to next. And then next up we have another show that actually finished off, and that is Prodigal Son. So this is a thriller, procedural, mystery-ish type of show. And this one, it did get canceled, so it had 2 seasons, and now that's it will be no more. And I actually ended up watching it, and then I got a couple of episodes into the 2nd season and was feeling like, wow, I don't really remember this that well. There's some threads that I'm feeling just that are pulled that I'm like confused about. So I actually went and bought the 1st season and rewatched the entire thing in like 2 weeks. And I had missed some episodes in the 1st season. It was just one of those ones that I didn't always catch it when it was on last year. And I'm really glad that I went back and watched it. And because there were some, because this is one of those shows that actually has a formula that I tend to like, which is often there is a case or one theme for the episode, but there's a longer arc as well. If you're unfamiliar with it, it features a father-son relationship where the father is a serial killer and he's in jail. He's played by Michael Sheen, who's there in The Blood, and the son is a profiler, and so there is an unusual family dynamic, but because it's a procedural, there often is like need to get the father's help to solve the case, or is he manipulating the son, or like those kinds of things. So it's very thrillery kind of in that sense, almost conspiracy, because it's got this sort of like long arc. You're always sort of wondering like how things are gonna like come together. So for me, I was fine at the case a week stuff, but the longer arc stuff, I was definitely missing things. Like I missed huge things. There were some episodes I saw that I forgot, that I didn't realize had such impactful reveals and stuff like that. So I ended up rewatching season 1 and then going right in and watching all of season 2, and I actually quite enjoyed it. It had some bumpy bits, as most of the shows that did in-year releases in terms of talking about COVID, and also in a lot of the shows that had like police, definitely talking about what would be the right way to phrase it? police violence. Let's go with that. And so this one I felt was pretty awkward. Like COVID, they pretty much ignored. Like they mentioned it and sort of went on. And different shows had different approach to that. But in terms of police violence and racial profiling, I like they did address it, but what they did was like I just felt for the characters, and it was, sometimes commented, like there was comments, and then like noting, yes, we're aware that this happened and we need to make a comment on it, and then a story decision that, like, it's not an interesting choice. Anyway, I felt it was a little awkward. Let's just say it that way. I'm actually being really awkward talking about it, so maybe that's just the truth, that it was a bit awkward. So, but it did address it, so that's good, but it was awkward, so yeah. But in terms of the plot, the main arc of the second story, I thought it was an interesting choice, and I was curious to see where it was going to go. This is one of those shows that feels very off-tempo for me in terms of enjoying it, because it is rather violent and disturbing. You can just tell by the image and, serial killers, and usually I stay away from that. But I think for me, sometimes when they seem a bit more on the melodramatic side, and not necessarily saying this one was, but when I feel like they need to be far enough distance from reality that they don't seem possible, and then I can watch it. If it feels very realistic, I can't watch it. So this one was really close to the line, but I did feel like it went sort of over the top, but it wasn't unrealistic. So I don't know, it was just, for some reason, it was the right pace for me, but I'm getting close to watching less and less shows like this, and I already don't even watch that many. I am sad that it was canceled. I do believe it came to a good resolve. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I don't remember what the resolve was, but I did at the time enjoy the choices made. So I am happy that I kept with the series. As I said, it's very sort of like off tempo for me, but I like to try new things, and it was one that I tried, I guess, that year, fall of 2019, and I stuck with it. So who knows what this year I'll stick with. Next up we have a couple shows that I jumped in the middle of, and the next one is the truth of that. So we have The Rookie. So I watched season 3 of The Rookie, and last year I jumped into season 2. I have not seen season 1. This is another show. It features Nathan Fillion plays an older person who becomes a rookie cop. That's sort of the premise of the show. And I really enjoy and appreciated that perspective. In this one, this season really did incorporate police violence and racism very directly. It was very hard to watch, and it was very uncomfortable. They really used it as a theme for a good part of like building over the season, but I thought it was done well. The thing is, for me, what I like about the show is it has sometimes more of a lighter element to it, and I felt like that was present in the second season, but I felt it was almost barely in this one at all. There were some really horrible things that happened in the season, and a couple in season 2. And so I might actually decide, even though I think it's a good show, I think I might decide not to watch it, because I just found it disturbing, and not that it wasn't done well, but I just felt uncomfortable. I might oddly go back and watch season 1, because just to get a sense of what it was like, and leave it complete there. I know that's a weird choice, but I really loved a lot of the character dynamics. This has a lot, if you like mentoring, this is definitely a good show for that, because it often has not only is he a rookie, but there is sort of like a group of rookies, and they're all have their sort of what's that called? Something officer, who's their training officer, their TO. And so it's often the relationship and learning and developing and being challenged and pushed, and in that, not in a bad way, in a sort of like to grow way, and to, anyway. So in a good way, usually, things are always going to go wrong, and there's going to be conflict, because you got to have that in a story. But still, I enjoyed season 2 a fair amount, but season 3, even though it was good, I found it hard to watch. And so I think it's just the tempo of the show it's too realistic. That might be what it is. Prodigal Son feels completely completely not in the same world as this one. This feels very centered in reality, and so that got disturbing for me. So unfortunately, it might end up, even though it's been renewed and it's coming back. Let's see, I did note the date. It comes back September 26th on ABC. Often shows I end up picking for when it's available on live, and that's often how I decide how to pick something. This one was Sunday nights. Next up, we have another show I jumped in the middle, and that is The Resident. So I watched season 4 of The Resident. This is a medical drama, and I can't believe I jumped into the 4th season. I literally decided to pick this one because it was a new show that was coming back, and it started like January 2nd or something like that. There was nothing else on. So I'm like, okay, I've watched a lot of medical dramas in my day. I can jump into this. This one did, I think, a really interesting choice in terms of COVID. They made a choice in terms of COVID, but wow, this is a ridiculously fast-paced show. I couldn't believe how much would happen in each particular episode. Now, there are 3 whole seasons that I have missed, so I was playing catch up and trying to like figure out the relationships and the dynamics and these kinds of things, but they just like, it is so fast. Like, if anyone remembers the TV show Santa Barbara, it was like that level fast. Like, it was so much happened, and it was so much drama, and it was always up to 11. So for me, this one was a bit of a tough one because and also I don't generally watch medical dramas because I just don't really enjoy them from a more personal reason, not so much they're almost a standard these days. Legal dramas, medical dramas, procedurals, those are standards in terms of TV, but I don't like watching the medical aspect of things for personal reasons. But I think the drama and the relationships and the characters and the dynamics were all really, really interesting. They just really, really moved fast. And the challenge that came with this show was that they always went to it felt like the most challenging situation. Like, it always pushed it to the most uncomfortable or the most dramatic, let's say dramatic, possibility. And once I sort of saw that, it sort of broke the illusion for me a little bit, because I was like, oh, well, it's going to be this because that's the most dramatic. Oh, well, it's going to be this because that's the most horrible, or whatever. Like, it just sort of felt that way. So maybe I wouldn't feel that way if I started watching from the beginning. I don't know. I might go back and watch from the beginning. I like the cast a lot, but I just felt a little like not quite here nor there. And also that can happen because I jumped in the 4th season, which is a risk I was willing to take. It is coming back for a 5th season. It starts back up on September 21st. And then we have the last for this set is another medical drama, which is New Amsterdam. So I watched the 3rd season of New Amsterdam. This is another medical drama. It is set in New York. I've been watching this one from the beginning, and it was without a doubt my favorite show from that season, and I just loved it from the get-go. So that was probably 2008 fall. How do I remember that? So the 3rd season, this one really did take on the reality of the situation in terms of COVID, and how that impacts people. So I appreciated that. It was very much contemporary, in the moment commentary on what was going on right now, and which is a big risk because they're filming slightly like before things are happening. So it's a bit of projecting what could happen, you know what I mean? So that is quite a risk, but I thought they mostly dealt with it quite well. I appreciate that they went for that perspective. But I did find it sometimes very hard to watch because it was so on point. And they also dealt, like a lot of times what came up was just the impact on people for being isolated for this long, or the different kinds of things that can come up. So if you are not into being able to go with that, then this season would have been potentially a tough one or one to maybe watch later. But I actually really appreciated how they incorporated it, and it was a tough watch. And I do have to admit, it's kind of like one of those things, like when I was watching sometimes The Resident and New Amsterdam, I think on the same day, and it didn't feel fair, right? Because I've been watching New Amsterdam from the beginning, and so I between the two, I felt like I was always going to choose New Amsterdam, but they were on the same day, and The Resident was early. Like, it just felt messy. And I tried to stop watching The Resident and then like that day and then watch it later in the week, but whatever app it is on here in Canada was not cooperating for like through the Amazon Fire Stick. You can probably watch it online, no problem, but I kept on getting stuck in commercials, and I tried it several times, and I'm like, this is not worth my time. So it's unfortunate, and I honestly feel like that's one of the reasons. Another reason I like watching things live is, generally speaking, watching through antenna, like if you're home at the time, it's pretty reliable. Not always. The CW is so hit and miss, but for a lot, if it's on a Canadian broadcaster, at the same time as an American broadcaster, you have two options, and I can usually get a signal, no problem. So, but I did enjoy the season 3 of New Amsterdam. It had my heart. It was tough. It was emotional. And I find, like, for me, I can have like one show that's like that. And I don't know why that show I can watch as a medical drama, but the other one, but The Resident I had a harder time with. I'm not sure. Maybe it was just one too many. I often pick one procedural, and that's it. So for me, now that I've finished Prodigal Son, maybe there will be a new one that I will watch this fall. We shall see. So New Amsterdam does come back for its 4th season again on September 21st on NBC. I am surprised at how soon these return dates are cropping up. There was so much delay last year. So many things started in January, February, March, and had shorter seasons, but looks like a lot of things are now going back to what the regular schedule is, with late September return dates. So I gotta get on tracking that down, and because normally I do that like in May. I didn't even look at the upfronts this year. I have no idea what's going on. Every week is going to be like, I'll look up some of the returning shows, but new stuff I might just wait and see what's on week to week and run with it from there. So there you go. There are some thoughts on some shows that I watched, some in-year shows that I watched, and let me know, what did you watch this year? Do you ever jump in mid-season? I didn't realize how often I do it. I'm very, very much make my choices based on what time slot things are on, which is just the weirdest. But I've ended up with some great shows, like both New Amsterdam and Prodigal Son were complete, like, out of the box for me, and I ended up enjoying both of them. So, and gosh, New Amsterdam, my heart just hurts after that show. I think I have cried in every single episode after over 3 seasons, and I keep on coming back for more. I think it's my emotional capacity just like goes to that show, and like for TV, and I'm like, everything else can't go there because I don't have any left. So there you go. Those are some thoughts. What did you watch this year? Did you watch any in your shows? Let me know your thoughts, and I will be back soon with another video. Thanks so much for watching.